Welcome back. Pylon Podcast coming back to you live here. It's our very fresh post week one thoughts. The Clemson Duke game just finished up, so you're going to get a real fresh reaction from us today. Just going to be doing a little game preview today and then a little Heisman watch. Give you some of our riser and fallers, and that should be it for tonight's episode. So that should be a good one. Anything you like to? Oh, sorry.
Crazy week one. That's it. It was nuts.
Yeah.
There's a lot to unpack, really.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't be happier. College football is back. We're, getting back in the swing of things. We had a full slate this weekend, which was beautiful. Made me very happy, but let's get right into it. On Thursday, we had a pretty good matchup between Florida and Utah. For the game, it was announced Cam Rising was not healthy, not ready to go. But that did not stop the Utes from absolutely dominating Florida.
I mean, neither of us expected Florida to look good at all in this game, though. I mean, I think we talked about it just before we started the episode, but the general public probably, for some reason, had some hype with them. And now you mentioned the documentary coming out in the last podcast that added to hype, obviously. And whenever you get a transfer to QB, that always tends to add to the hype. But I was fully expecting Utah to rout Florida in this one, especially if they had Cam Rising in. It would have been bad.
Yeah, it looked like Florida was going to rely on the run game, but Utah's defense really just shut that down and made Graham Mertz throw the ball, which is never really a good sign when Graham Mertz is kind of your last option to make throws. He honestly didn't look as bad as I would have expected him to play, but at the same time, they got crushed and only got a garbage time touchdown. So not the best showing from Florida, and strong showing from a Utah team that was missing their captain.
Yeah, biggest takeaway here is that Utah has some pretty good depth. They look like a really good team overall, and Florida sucks. They're going to have a really bad year.
Yeah, it's going to be looking like a down year for Florida fans here. I hate to break it to you.
I'm sorry, Florida fans, but hold on to the railings for this year. You're going to need it.
Just enjoy your documentary.
Ride that wave high. Second game, though, the other Thursday game we had this week, the one that turned out to be a little bit better, probably the best Thursday game, was Nebraska at Minnesota. Did you end up watching this one?
Oh, yeah. I barely needed to watch that Florida-Utah game with this game on.
I know. It was a nice defensive battle at the beginning. I really thought Nebraska was going to pull it out. I felt like that momentum, they were going to ride it. And then Minnesota just found a way to flip it right at the end there. Got a timely fumble. And then, what is his name? Kaliamanakis or whatever it is.
Kaliamanis.
Kaliamanakis. He looked pretty good as the game went on. I think he had a rough start, but it'll be interesting to see how he goes forward because it was kind of a up and down game for him.
Yeah, no, classic Big Ten battle between these two teams. Both just defensive heavy, a lot of turnovers, which is normally would be a boring game, but honestly, I loved every bit of this game. This was just a game, week one just told me college football is back. Yeah, you said it right. Ethan did not start the game. Well, he started the game pretty good. They had a but first drive, they kicked a field goal. But after that, he looked very shaky, made a lot of bad throws. But when Minnesota's defense really stepped up at the end there, he capitalized. And I think that's really all that matters if I'm a Minnesota fan is that, when you put the game on his shoulders, he stepped up, he made the throws, he made the right plays, and got the win. Minnesota is also in a bit of a transition period right now. Last year, very heavily relied on the run game with Muhammad Ibrahim. This year, he's gone to the draft, so they had to throw the ball a lot more, and it's going to be interesting to see how they perform against some tougher competition. But at the end of the day, I feel like this game kind of came down to Nebraska once again beating themselves in a one-score game.
Yeah, I mean, they had all the momentum before that fumble, and they were stuffing Minnesota's run game. They were, as you said, out of their element. I think last year they were around 60-40 leading towards the run game. That last game they were 60-40 leading towards the pass game. But I guess the sigh of relief for Minnesota fans is that their wide receiver one made like some really good catches in that game. And that was it the game-winning touchdown, correct? I think. Yeah, that catch was insane towards the side of the end zone. I was 100% sure he did not make that at first. I was like, no. I thought his right foot was down for sure.
I was same page as you. I thought that was incomplete. And then they showed the replay, and I was like,
holy shit.
Man, wow. That was crazy.
That was athletic.
But yeah, fun game. I enjoyed that one a lot.
Great Thursday night.
Yeah, it was a good Thursday night. On the Friday night, the game that I watched Friday night was Louisville at Georgia Tech. The game just started off not at all how I expected it to go. Georgia Tech came out swinging, took a giant lead, and lost it. That's pretty much it. They were up 28-13 at half, and kind of looked like they were just going to run away with the game. And Haynes King, Texas A&M transfer, who not very high on, but he looked pretty good in the first half. And then in the second half, they just completely took their foot off the gas pedal, and Louisville came all the way back and played like the team that I think we thought they were.
Yeah, you said it best. I think Georgia Tech fell asleep. It is a game now that always reminds you that even some of these smaller games in NCAA, like they get nuts. This was one of the better games of the weekend, I felt like, but one that definitely flies under the radar.
Yeah, I'm not really impressed by either of these teams. I don't see either of these teams really being ranked at any point in this season. Maybe Louisville could, if they could sneak a couple wins, sneak their way into a top 25 spot. But I mean, overall, just like you shouldn't really be giving up 28 points to Georgia Tech in one half. I understand, like they did step up and shut them down in that second half, only giving up a touchdown in the fourth after that brutal first half. But it was good to see them come back because I was expecting them to win this game. But one kind of tidbit I have about this is their quarterback, Jack Plummer, ran the ball way too much. And he's not a good runner. I was very confused why they kept putting the ball in his hands because he wasn't picking up first downs. He's a hesitant runner also, which you never want a hesitant runner. So,
yeah, I don't know what the game plan was there.
Definitely a lot of room for improvement between these two teams. But, yeah, good Friday game. Good Friday game.
Good way to spend your Friday night. But the real games, though.
On Saturday
and Sunday this week. But for the most part, Saturday.
Yeah.
Should we start perhaps the biggest one?
Yeah. I told you, folks. I told you I thought the Colorado Buffaloes are going to win the game, and they did. All right. If there was one person on this earth who was not surprised by this at all, it was me. Coming into this game, I felt Colorado was one of the most underrated teams in college football, and I thought TCU was one of the most overrated teams in college football. If you go back to Kevin, I believe if you go back to our preseason top 25, I think we ranked, if I have it correctly, we
Yeah,
ranked Colorado and left TCU off.
we may have given a TCU like a nod at like the last like 20 to 25 range,
I mean,
but I feel like we didn't. I feel like that's the highest we would have put them.
but yeah, no, this game was an absolute banger.
As advertised. The
Yeah,
game was amazing.
it was kind of everything that I had hoped it to be. Um, Colorado playing in a close game against a good team, and they stepped up and won the game, which was huge. And a big shout out to them for our big shout out to Travis Hunter and Shadur Sanders.
Played a great game. And I think honestly the best thing or one of the most notable things coming out of this game was that everybody was impressed with Colorado. We obviously kind of expected this, you more so than myself. But I think that's true. But at the same time, TCU looked better than I expected them to. Like I feel like TCU still played a really good game. Had some discipline issues. They did have a lot of penalties in the first half.
Mm-hmm.
But for Colorado to have beat them and they also still impressed me, I think that really makes Colorado impress even more.
Yeah, I mean, talking about TCU, Chandler Morris, their quarterback, played a very, very good game. Honestly, he did have a few mistakes here and there that were costly, but I mean, overall, like there were multiple points in that game where it kind of seemed like Colorado had taken like a momentum swing, but he would bring them right back down on the field. He kept up and competed with Sanders, which I mean, Sanders looks special. We can get into him a little bit more later, but he looked real good in this game. That's all I'm gonna say for now. But he looked real good, and Morris kept up with him.
Yeah, and I think TCU can run the rock too, which was very unexpected. 262 on the ground, and honestly, I think if they had leaned more on the run game late in that third quarter, early in the fourth quarter, they probably could have pulled it out.
They just needed to stop Colorado on offense.
That too, but
yeah,
better than people would have expected them to.
And our next game was Ohio State at Indiana. And my one-word reaction to this game is okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's pretty much how my reaction was to this one as well. I know I'm sure you're awaiting my reaction because I actually haven't told you it all yet, really.
Yeah, I'm very curious. I wanted to call you multiple points throughout that game, but I figured we could save it for this.
Save it, get the fresh reaction. I think the biggest probably overreaction coming out of this is all the Ohio State fans probably calling for Kyle McCord to be like burned or something, or even just outside of Ohio State. I honestly think McCord looked good. Like, yeah, there was some parts where he didn't look great, but you look back at like C.J. Stroud's start versus Minnesota, he was overthrowing like everybody that game, and he didn't look great. And the same things were happening. They were all like, "Oh, we should start." I forget who was behind him at the time, but they were calling for C.J. Stroud's name at the time, and he ended up growing into it. I honestly put more of the blame on the offensive line. I would be more worried about them right now. I think we showed great depth on the running back side, but that offensive line struggled on like late third down, third and short, when I really was hoping to see them kind of push a Indiana defense that's not too great over. They looked better as the game went on, so I'll give them that. Like by the end of the game, I think the offensive line was looking a little bit more cohesive. But But that's pretty much my reaction to the offense. The defense looked really good.
Yeah.
Not quite as like flashy as I thought maybe the defense would be, but Iowa's offense was also playing really passive, running the ball a lot, not really throwing the ball in like risky situations. So you're not really going to get many turnovers when you're playing a team like that. But they held them to very little yards, and
82 yards in the air and 71 on the ground for Indiana.
yeah, I mean that's a good day on defense, and I think they're on 2 or 3 sacks as well in there. So or maybe just one. Actually, now I'm thinking about it. Let me just double check my notes.
Just one.
Yeah, just one. But yeah, I think my biggest reaction is just the offensive line is what is worrying me. Everything else looks great though, and I think the fact that we really didn't use any of our stars and still ended up playing a pretty good game is a light at the end of the tunnel. So,
Yeah.
how do you feel?
Personally, not very impressed with the performance. I do. I am a firm believer in a win is a win, and to escape with a win there is what good teams do. When you don't got your best juice that day, and then still able to win by 20 is still impressive. Indiana looks terrible,
Oh yeah,
honestly. Offensively, I mean, it's a very real possibility Indiana could, like, if this keeps up, there's a real possibility they won't win a game. I mean, they had nothing going for them offensively all
oh,
game, and it kind of bailed out the, I'm going to say, mediocre performance from Kyle McCord. I personally felt that um, it seemed like Ryan Day and Kyle McCord like game managed the shit out of that. It seemed like they were just trying to run the clock and let Kyle McCord kind of make these easy throws and stuff. Maybe not trying to show all their firepower that they have is kind of like the conclusion that I think I could come to on why the offense did not look so stand out, which is like not really typically what you'd see out of an Ohio State team.
yeah. Honestly, I'm thinking, but also obviously hoping at the same time, trusting Ryan Day in this situation that he's just kind of preparing for Michigan. Because if you look back, Michigan, Ohio State, whoever runs the ball best wins the game. And I think they put kind of really a um, heavy focus on the run game and just pushing that out, being able to run in it in multiple ways, outside the tackles, inside the tackles. So I think that the playbook was short, not only for Kyle McCord, but also with new offensive coordinator as well with Brian Hartline. So I think that combination, they kind of played it a little easy on him. And hopefully, kind of saw Michigan do the same thing last year with J.J. McCarthy. He wasn't very flashy at the beginning of the year, held them up a little bit, ran the rock with Corn.
Edwards and yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I'm hoping. That's Ryan Day's philosophy right now. But it'll be interesting to see with some 2 very easy teams coming up. Maybe they will finally open the playbook up a little bit, start airing it out.
Yeah. Last thing I just want to note on that game is I'm just hoping, fingers crossed, that Marvin Harrison does not have the same junior season Jackson Smith and Jigba had.
It looked like he was just like wind knocked out or something on
Yeah.
that.
It's still kind of scary, especially since we just saw this last year with Jackson Smith and Jigba.
Yeah.
I felt like, I mean, honestly, like the hype around those two were very similar kind of coming into the seasons, that they were both destined for an amazing season their junior years. And I'm just praying that Marvin stays healthy, because
It would just be a shame not to watch him like do his thing.
absolutely. On to my boys. Notre Dame, I mean, we don't really even need to talk about this game all that much. I think the score kind of says it itself. Notre Dame had no issues whatsoever with Tennessee State, which wouldn't really expect them to. They won 56-3. Sam Hartman looked great again. Didn't really miss a pass. All around team played great. Just looking good as week 2. I mean, haven't given up a touchdown on offense yet. So let's go Irish. Keep it going.
Yeah, enough said really with that one. I mean, just blew them out again. I'd be interesting to see how long they're going to be able to keep this no touchdown streak on defense going.
Yeah.
I think they got a good shot to keep it rolling for a little bit. So.
Oh, we got your boys in like 2 weeks here. So we got NC State next week. So
a little step up in the competition. I think that's a little like stepping, just another step up on the stage here as you get prepared for the first big game of the year for both of us, really.
Yeah. Not much really else to say on the game. It was over at halftime. They took out Hartman. So, yeah. Another upset. Talk about Fresno State at Purdue. I like Purdue a lot in this game. I thought that, they had kind of taken a little disrespect, but clearly that was, what's the word? Justified. It was justified disrespect towards Purdue. Fresno State almost dropped 40 points on Ryan Walters' defense, which, I mean, after what I saw from his defense last year at Illinois, I was kind of expecting some good defensive play out of Purdue today. I thought Hudson Card would just be able to play good enough to win the game, which if they could have stepped up defensively, they might have been able to.
Yeah, with this one, I think just too much loss over the offseason with Purdue. Really lost a lot in the transfer portal. I do think they have a bright future ahead of them. We've talked about their coaching acquisitions over the summer. I think that defense will probably look better once he starts to get his own players and his own system rolling. He's kind of just have to do with what he's given right now. But after maybe a couple of recruiting cycles, you'll start to see that defense look like how they want it to.
Yeah. That all you get?
Yeah, that's pretty much all I got. Anything else from you for this one?
No.
All right. Well, moving on to what was my upset of the week. Didn't turn out quite as I thought it would be. Not even close, really. But North Carolina versus South Carolina. My biggest takeaway in this one was North Carolina's defensive front. They held South Carolina to, let me double check, but I think that it was like -2 rushing yards, not runs, -2 rushing yards total.
Yep.
But if you're not including sacks, I think that's somewhere around like the 25 range, which is still nuts. Like that defensive front was not what I was expecting it was going to be. Put all of the pressure on Rattler, and he still played good. Like, don't get me wrong, Rattler still played pretty good in this game. But they just couldn't do anything on the ground, and that really killed them.
Yeah, as you said, Spencer Rattler was not the issue in this one. He was doing everything he could. I've never seen someone get tackled by the ankles more in my life. He got sacked 9 times in this game, which, North Carolina won the line game, or they won the line of scrimmage, and that is really what kind of separated the game. South Carolina was kind of competitive, only were down 3.5. Looked like they could make a run at it, but I mean, North Carolina just stepped up, took over the game. A positive on South Carolina's side is I really enjoyed watching their receiver, Xavier Leggett. It seemed like every time that guy, I think he's going to be special. He had 9 catches for 178 yards. It seemed like when they would get him the ball, he was just able to make plays consistently. He was fighting off tackles. It was a good performance from him and Rattler. But yeah, the fact that they had 0 run game really hurt them. I think they were wasting too many first and second downs. They weren't converting on 4th down at all. Like North Carolina shut them down in that second half. It was a very impressive performance from the Tar Heels. Even off the back of Drake May, who didn't look like all that. He played a good game still, 24 32, 269 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. A pretty good stat line, I'd say, but the 2 interceptions were not the best. But yeah, I wouldn't be too worried about it if I was a North Carolina fan. South Carolina still a really good team in my head. I think they're still going to be competitive in the SEC, which is good. I just think that the better team won this game.
Yeah, I think if you're a North Carolina fan, you're not worried at all. If you're a South Carolina fan, the only thing I'd worry about is that offensive line. Because if it was letting up that much to North Carolina, there's a lot of really good defensive lines in the SEC. So that would be the only thing that scares me. But Rattler still looked really good, so at least you have that. And obviously their wide receiver core looked like they were catching everything. So
yeah, they got Georgia coming up soon, so they're going to need to figure it out.
The offensive line for sure is going to need something, or it's going to be like 18 sacks.
Yeah, Georgia will stop them if that O-line shows up the way they did against North Carolina. They're going to have no shot whatsoever against Georgia.
Not even close.
Game that I forgot to add onto the list, Kevin, was West Virginia at Penn State. This was a dominant win by Penn State. West Virginia had no offense against this Penn State defense. It seemed like anytime they would get something going, Penn State would shut it down immediately. Offensively, Penn State played amazing. It didn't seem like the whole game they just moved the ball down the field. That my biggest concern with this Penn State team right now, because they look really good yet again, is that their kicker missed 2 kicks. That's my only concern with this team. They looked so good in this game. Couldn't have imagined a better win for them, personally.
Not much to say about this game. Drew Aller looked great. As you said, the biggest concern is really just the field goal misses. But other than that, Penn State dominated.
Yeah, I mean, the ability that they were just like able to rely on their run game to get them big time gains every time they ran the ball, and then just kind of allow Drew Aller to sit in the pocket. He threw for over 300 yards, 3 touchdowns. He looked great. I expect a real good year from these Lions.
Yeah, they're going to be a tough team to beat. Going into our next game, Texas Tech, Wyoming. I didn't watch this game personally myself, but I did watch some highlights on this one. Good game overall, though.
Yeah, this game, we didn't talk about it last week, but on Saturday I saw it was on the slate. It had like a 2-hour delay because of lightning. And then I just was like, I just really wanted to watch the game at that point. And yeah, I sat there and I watched the whole game, and it was good. It was really good. Texas Tech went up 17-0 early, and I was like thinking like, ugh, this is gonna just be a blowout. But Wyoming came back. They came back. They did essentially everything right. Um, just if they didn't work out on offense, they were getting the stop on defense. They pushed the game to overtime, ended up making the plays to win this game. Big concern I have with Texas Tech is their quarterback, Tyler Shuck. He, like on paper, he looked like he played a fantastic game. 31 for 47, 338 yards, 3 touchdowns, and an interception. But after that first quarter, they had 3 points on offense. After the first quarter, they allowed Wyoming to come back, and yeah, I can't say it enough how I feel like proud of this Wyoming team for the way that they stuck in this game and really came out with a win there. It was an awesome game to watch. Very exciting finish as well. Glad
Yeah,
they glad they could get it done.
yeah. I'm sad I decided against watching this one. I was watching the highlights and I was like, damn, this looks like a good game. Should have stayed up.
Should have. Who we got next? Another West Coast game that happened. Coastal Carolina was at UCLA. Again, not really much to say about this game. UCLA took care of business as they should. Seems like Chip Kelly's having a little bit of trouble adjusting to the new play clock rules, with it not stopping after every first down. He made a comment about that at halftime, basically upset that he didn't get to have the ball as much as he probably wished. But some notes on this game. Coastal Carolina's quarterback Grayson McCall played very well, in my opinion. I think he did all he could in this game, and he kept him in it for the most part. Defense also stepped up. UCLA didn't look. UCLA doesn't look all that intimidating this year compared to the rest of the Pac-12, especially. I kind of expect a down year from them. And I would definitely like to see a lot more of their true freshman quarterback, Dante Moore. He got minimal snaps, but I think he needs to definitely get more active, get more action.
I agree. I'd like to see more of Dante Moore. And Chip Kelly did the same thing with Dorian Thompson Robinson when he first started. He kind of slowly got him into it. So, I mean, Kelly knows what he's doing. But, yeah, as you said, they're not gonna be really competing too much this year. But I think at least it was a nice hope for the future, really, with this game. They look like they're heading in the right direction. They got some promise.
Yeah, defensively they shut down Grayson McCall as well, which is not really an easy task. Grayson McCall is one of the better, if not the best, group of five quarterback there is out there. So, good win for UCLA.
Yeah. What do we got next?
On to the Sunday game. I know. LSU at Florida State.
Not a great start for your natty champion.
You know, we got our one loss now. Now we can just go win out. You know. Now, obviously not the way you want to start off the season. I feel like this was a game. It was two completely different games by that between the first and second half, which a lot of these games were. Honestly, now that I'm saying it for this one, but this one felt very, very much like it. I mean, LSU was winning at halftime. Felt pretty good about them, but God, did they just fall apart in that second half? Just it seemed like everything they had going for them in the first half was gone.
Yeah, the one plus side for LSU fans is that at least the first half did look really good. Well, not necessarily really good, I should say. It's not like they blew them out of the water or anything, but they were really competitive. And I thought LSU had the momentum going into halftime, and then, as you said, just kind of crumbled. It seemed like it was going to come down to the wire. Going to be a really good game, but FSU just stepped out in front and never let go.
Yeah, I mean, I put down a note at halftime that I wrote down, which was said both teams look very strong, and whoever makes less mistakes is going to win this game, which is obvious. But it looked like a dogfight, and then LSU just made all the mistakes. Like
A whole lot of mistakes.
the offensive game plan just fell apart. Jaden Daniels did not look good at all in that second half. Just not making the right reads. They weren't completing passes. Wide receivers were dropping passes. They couldn't run the ball. Said earlier with talking about whoever won the line of scrimmage. Well, Florida State won the line of scrimmage in this game, and ultimately, it's a huge factor in why they won.
Shout out Keaton Coleman too. He played a really good game, and that's someone that we were both actually kind of looking at going into this game.
Yeah, those Florida State receivers were no joke. Seemed like anytime they needed a first down, they were wide open right at the first down marker, and even then they wouldn't go down there. For Florida State to have two giant receiving threats in Johnny Wilson and Keon Coleman, they look real dangerous going into the rest of this year. I honestly, they look like what I thought LSU would be looking like right now. Like defensively, they were solid. Offensively, they rolled. Like this was a great game by Florida State.
Yeah, Florida State really surprised me with this one. I was on the same boat. I thought Florida State would look good, but I thought LSU would probably kind of come in with this one with a chip on their shoulder and handle things like they would. But defense looked kind of shaky, so we'll see what Brian Kelly has to do about that defense.
Yeah, and then it was a rough night for me last night after this loss. I was not too happy. Had to get off Twitter for a little bit because nothing was making me feel too good after that loss.
Being pissed off and going on Twitter is not a good combo.
No, never. And then I set down my phone. I'm sitting there, and then I just zzz. Brian Kelly says, "We are not who we thought we were."
Oh, yeah, that was a rough comment.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Brian Kelly. One person who has faith in you right now, and you just go out and say that you're not good enough. I expect LSU to kind of turn things around definitely by the end of this year, but you only got one loss to give. Took it week 1, so they're gonna have to come back, turn this ship around, and if it's anything like I saw in that second half of that game, they're not turning it around. But I still got hope that they could sneak into a 4 spot maybe.
It's a long playoffs, but they still got hope.
Yeah, I mean, even last year they started out with the loss to Florida State as well, and then turned around their season and made the SEC championship game. They just really got to worry about. Let's see.
Alabama really is their biggest worry right now.
Yeah, I'm looking at their schedule for the rest of the year, and it kind of like all these games are winnable. I feel like for LSU, they are a good enough team to win every one of these games. But yeah, that at Alabama, November 4th is going to be that make or break game, I believe.
Yeah, they're going to be really big Texas fans this week. A lot of Texas fans in Louisiana
Oh
come
yeah,
Saturday.
oh yeah.
All
Yeah.
right, and last game of the review here. One more.
Yeah.
The one that just finished.
Just finished up a couple hours ago. A bit of a shocker for you, at least. I know this was your pick to win the ACC. Clemson, what happened?
I thought Garrett Riley was going to make a statement coming to Clemson. I thought that offense was going to be revitalized, but it did not look good at all.
Yeah, I mean, shocked me a lot because I'm a fan of Cade Klubnik. I really like watching Cade Klubnik play ball. I think he's a good quarterback. He's got a lot of potential, but yeah, I don't. I just like they had no answer on offense today.
No. I mean, it's looking really good for Florida State if this is what Clemson's going to look like for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I think Clemson and North Carolina are really their like two biggest threats. North Carolina obviously looks good, but I mean Clemson taking this week one loss at Duke. Huge win for Duke, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Shout out Duke for this one.
Good shit, Duke.
I was very impressed with Duke's quarterback, honestly, Riley Leonard. I think he's got a lot of potential to be a quarterback at the next level as well. I think he is a very smart quarterback. I saw him. I don't. How many sacks did he take? He didn't take a single sack. Not a single sack against a very good Clemson defense. Threw the ball away a lot, which, I mean, if you're not going to make a play, throw it away.
That's something you got to do against when you're trying to pull off a big as upset, too, as this one. Can't make mistakes. You can't, let them take advantage of that.
That was just like one thing that Duke did not really do was make mistakes. They had two fumbles, but overall stepped up defensively, shut them down, and just played a complete game. A good team win, honestly. And their defense could only hold up for so long with the 3 turnovers that the offense had.
Rough game for Clemson.
Yeah, not ideal. I think they're going to have to get the ball to Will Shipley a lot, especially to start the season. Because I don't think. I mean, Cade Klubnik completed 27 passes for only 209 yards, which is just
That's
you're
not
on the road. You're typically not going to win a ball game with that stat line. Just a lot of checkdowns. They couldn't get the ball downfield. Not ideal. Not an ideal start for the Tigers.
very surprising to see someone with the last name Riley not have a good quarterback, or at least not have a good quarterback performance. It's a rare sighting.
That is true. But yeah, that's it for our week one recap. Overall, you know how you did with your picks?
I didn't check, to be honest. Betting didn't go well for me, though. Ohio State screwed me over. I had them the over 29.5 because I thought that they wouldn't step off the gas with playing two different quarterbacks, but clearly they were playing it a little bit more reservedly.
Yeah.
How'd yours go?
My picks were I was above 500.
Start.
Hitting that Colorado
That was big.
Hitting that Colorado pick was good. So yeah. But other notable performances to talk about for this week. Oregon stopped on I believe Sacramento State, beating them 81-7. You wanted to talk about not taking your foot off the gas. The Ducks did not do that.
Not at all.
It
Dropped
looked like they were.
one.
It looked like they were playing a high school team out there. Honestly, just absolute domination from Oregon this weekend. Expecting after that win, definitely expecting a big year out of the Ducks. Expecting a big year out of Bo Nix. They looked, they're not Sacramento State, Portland State. I know Portland State's definitely not that big of a threat, but
81 still 81 though. Like that's a lot.
81. That especially with the new clock changes, it was an impressive performance out of the Ducks. Definitely looking like a team that's going to be able to compete in that Pac-12.
Ducks are primed to make a run this year. All the big dogs, I guess, did take care of business, or the rest of the big dogs. We got Bama, Georgia, Michigan, USC, all just took care of business, did what they were supposed to do this week, got their cupcake games, won them. Not much to be said about it, really.
Yeah, all those teams did exactly what they were supposed to do. So didn't deserve a full game recap, but it was a good week for those teams. Definitely a good start to the season. And then our last notable performance team-wise was Baylor lost at home to Texas State. Now, this game surprised me very much. I didn't watch it, but I saw I checked the scores and I saw they were losing, Baylor that is, and I was kind of shocked. I was not aware that Texas State was built like that.
No, not that Baylor is very good, but I was just like, it's Texas State. They should beat Texas State.
Yeah, I know Baylor lost their quarterback. I couldn't say exactly when. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, their starting quarterback still did throw 31 passes, so he must have played majority of the game. But they went up against former Auburn quarterback TJ Finley, and he got the job done. Went right into Baylor and took them down. And going to be a bit of quite the start for Baylor. Going to be interesting to see how they come back from this one.
Yeah, buckle in, Baylor fans.
Especially since they got the Ducks coming down. No, not the Ducks. I lied.
I think the Oregon has Texas Tech next week.
Yeah, I lied. Yeah.
Should we? You want to go to risers and fallers before we get to our Heisman?
Yeah.
All right. Let's. What do you want to start with? I'm not.
Utah's going to Baylor next week.
Utah. Oh God. Still though. Yeah, it's still gonna be rough for Baylor.
Yeah, we'll start with our fallers. Number one on our list is Purdue. We did talk about that game a little bit, but yeah, not a good performance out of them. Not at all how you expect to start. The only like silver lining out of their loss is that Fresno State is a good program. I believe last year they started out 0-3 and then went on a 10-game win streak. After that, didn't lose a game. So they were hot coming in based off the end of last season. But yeah, they just did not look good. Let Fresno State kind of go all over them. And it's looking more like a project year for Purdue now than it was kind of looking like maybe a coming out season that I thought they would be in. So that's why I have them listed as our first faller.
Fresno State it is important to note that they're one of the more upset heavy teams out of the group of five. I almost said Power 5. Mm-hmm. So not as, or probably kind of a huge overreaction to say that, Purdue's fallen into the tank here, but it is a project season, as you said. They're going to be reworking a lot and looking towards the future. I don't think they expect much out of this season.
Our next faller we had, or should we go? No, let's do a riser. Our first riser we had is Florida State. I think Florida State elevated themselves from a team that was kind of like a bubble playoff team to a team that definitely looks like they can do something in the playoff. You want to talk a team that just looked like college football playoff worthy? It looked like Florida State. Just the way they kind of shut down LSU was very impressive to see. And their offense they got a bunch of weapons on offense. So it looks like this might be Florida State's year here.
Solid around all edges. Didn't really make too many mistakes. Didn't really shoot themselves in the foot too much. More of a shocker for me. I know you were higher on Florida State than I was going into the season. So they really shocked me a lot, and I think they look primed to make a playoff run this year.
Oh yeah, I had LSU and Florida State as kind of two teams that were both like kind of on that verge to be the playoff teams. So this game did say a lot to me personally, and it kind of just showed that as of right now, Florida State is definitely the better team.
No doubt about it.
Yep. Stats, facts are all there.
Next faller, though, our second faller team is Clemson. We just got done talking about them, so you've kind of heard my 2 cents a little bit. But biggest disappointments is just kind of all around, I guess. I don't know if I can pinpoint it on one thing. Garrett Riley, the offense didn't look good. Gabe Lubbock did not look great. The defense, especially too, to not at least be able to keep them in that game. I think that's kind of the thing that Clemson hangs their hat on, is having that defense that they're always going to be able to rely on, but they weren't at all this game. So just overall not good for Clemson. I don't know what this season is going to become now. They've very much got me confused.
Yeah, definitely a faller. This was like Duke's first top 10 win they've ever had, or broke a streak or something. It was a historic win for Duke. I mean, they did storm the field afterwards. But yeah, it did not seem like it, especially coming off that bowl game loss they had at Tennessee last year. I think that kind of like adds the disappointment for me, because I was high on them in that bowl game last year versus Tennessee. And like, as I said, I'm high on Klubnik, but other than when he'd come in for DJU and save his ass last year, not not a great performance at all. As you said, all factors. Will Shipley, I'm a big fan of Will Shipley, though. I think Will Shipley's kind of the bright spot on the team, and I think that they need to kind of run a bit of an offense through him. Definitely in kind of this like get back time. They're down definitely right now, but they got. Let's see, they got. Don't even know what that team is, and then FAU the next
Florida
2
Atlantic.
weeks before they play Florida State, September 23rd. So they got some time to kind of get it back, but yeah, just not what you expect to see out of a powerhouse program like Clemson.
No, not at all. Going on to our second riser, though, obviously they're going to be on this list. It's Colorado. I mean, I think this was the gimme for the riser list. But Colorado, I'm speaking of being confused. I think now I'm just like, what's their peak? Like, is this? I know they're getting a lot of playoff hype right now, and I'm like, I don't know if I quite want to put them on the playoff hype yet, but they got a lot of playmakers, and if Travis Hunter plays the way he's playing and Shedeur Sanders plays the way he's playing, I think they'll at least compete in the Pac-12.
Yeah, Pac-12 is a very tough conference this year, so
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't go around throwing them winning the Pac-12 at like even in consideration right now, just with the way Washington, USC, and Oregon look and how they played last year, and Utah. I'll give Utah their flowers too. Like all four of those teams, I feel like are proven compared to this Colorado team, and this is Colorado's one win they got here. I am high in Colorado. I picked them to beat TCU, but I need to see more, especially once they get into conference play. But I think Colorado definitely solidified themselves as more than a team that was a project. A lot of people had kind of low expectations on them coming in with kind of their new system of just, picking out of the transfer portal, getting all these guys out of there, kind of just essentially buying a team through mainly free agency. But they made a statement week one. They didn't back down to TCU whatsoever and outplayed them. They deserved this win 100%. I'm very excited to see this year for Colorado. They're going to be a very fun team. I honestly marked them as a favorite team of mine on the score because I want to just keep up with their games like all the time. Like that's kind of the level of why I think they're a riser.
Yeah, I'm excited to see them go up against Nebraska next week. It's going to be a really good game.
Yep.
Our last faller is Ohio State. You guys heard my long 2 cents about it earlier. So that's pretty much what my thoughts were. I wouldn't be too worried about it. We had to put them as a faller because obviously when they play Indiana, you expect that offense to score like 45, 50. But I think if the offensive line can click, then the rest of the offense is going to click and turn, and then you'll see them turn the Jets on. But for right now, that offense is a question.
Yeah, I definitely would need to see more out of that Ohio State offense. They got really no excuse to only put up 23 on Indiana, I feel like. Offensive line needs to step up. You got two elite running backs in that backfield. So you got to get them the ball, and I just want to see I want to see more out of Kyle McCord as well. I know it was his first week, first time, in the starting position, but just not what you would want out of an Ohio State Indiana game. Because I was honestly, after that first half, I was expecting to see a lot more Devin Brown.
Me
But
too.
even when Devin Brown was in the game, he didn't do jack.
Yeah, they really kept Devin Brown from giving him like really any like opportunity, I guess. Play calling was rough whenever he was in there. Wasn't in there much. So it'll be interesting to see how much playing time he gets next week. Maybe he'll get the majority of it with McCord giving the majority of it this week. But I don't know. Maybe Ryan Day is just more convinced on McCord and decided to stick with him.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of seemed like the leash, like as short as the leash was on McCord, it was a lot shorter on Brown. He had 1 for 3 with -2 yards passing. And they have 1 carry for -3 yards. Like, not what we were expecting. Because I feel like coming in, it was like the battle between Devin Brown and Kyle McCord kind of seemed like, oh, this is a battle of two very good quarterbacks who both deserve this spot. Who's going to come out and lead this offense? But it didn't seem like either one of them were very all that convincing. But it is week 1, so this could just be a tremendous overreaction, of course. But this is all I got to work with. So
yeah, if you take it face value, I think it doesn't look good, but seen it before, so always nice to take it with a grain of salt. Hopefully Kyle McCord or one of them takes a step up. Hopefully Marvin Harrison's okay. That's honestly probably the bigger thing at the moment too. So
yeah, it was good to see the defense step up though.
Oh yeah, defense looked really solid. It was a very bad Indiana team, so I still got to see more out of them. But good start. Thank you, Jim Knowles.
Good job. He deserves MVP for this one. And our final riser is the Duke Blue Devils. Huge win against Clemson. Talking about it for probably seems like 20 minutes now. But, I mean, game's fresh, and I really can't get over how much I liked how Riley Leonard looked in this game. Just made a lot of the right reads. Didn't really turn the ball over. Just played a solid, consistent game. And I think that this Duke team, if they can kind of keep up this pace, they still put up 28 on a very good Clemson team. They ran all over them. I think that this is kind of a team that has the makings of maybe a breakout season here. Could steal a couple wins. I know they play Notre Dame later in the season. All right.
They're not stealing that one.
I don't think they're stealing that one, but I think this Duke team made a statement today that they're not the middle of the pack team and that, they're a football school now.
They're not going to be an easy win. So you're going to have to come prepared when you play Duke.
True that. All right, getting into our final segment, Heisman watch here. Post week 1, we got 7 guys listed here that we think made a statement, made a case. Starting off right away, we're going to go with the Colorado boys. Travis Hunter, Shedeur Sanders. I could not believe my eyes that I was watching Travis Hunter for 3 hours straight.
No.
I don't remember him leaving the field. And on the field, he did nothing but just make play after play after play. He played a phenomenal game, having 11 catches, 179 yards, and no receiving touchdowns. Okay, I thought he had one. But how many interceptions did he have? One?
Just the one, but I mean, it was a hell of an interception and a very important part of the game.
That was one of the I think best interceptions I've ever seen. Like he I think from I saw like from his like interview after the game, they asked him about that play, and he was supposed to be in man, or
Yeah.
he was supposed to be in zone. He was
No,
supposed to
he
be
was a man.
no,
He
he was
was a
supposed.
man, but he was on a different man. He came off of his man route to
Okay, yeah,
go to the other one, and then
read that screen, that swing immediately,
yeah,
dove over and made a fantastic interception. That, yeah, as you said, it was a really crucial interception to get.
yeah.
TCU was looking like they were about to get something going there, and he came away with that.
Travis Hunter is looking like the Shohei Ohtani of college football.
2 red zone interceptions. I think 2 interceptions within the 10-yard line for Colorado.
Yeah,
Which,
Woods the other one. That was in the end zone as well, if I remember correctly.
yeah, he's like one of the only guys that actually stayed in Colorado as well. So, but yeah, Travis Hunter looks like a absolute freak of nature the way he played, just not taking any time off. Guy's got a gas tank on him. He's got a couple gas tanks,
Never slowed down.
not once, but yeah, he played amazing. And there are other receivers too. Like, I mean, no, we got to get into Shadur. I mean, can you name a quarterback who looked better than him?
He was the best quarterback of week one. Like, I'm not going to say he's the best quarterback in college football. I think that's a bit of an overreaction right now, but
This stat line here: 38 for 47, 510 yards, school record. Game 1 with Colorado, school record, and 4 touchdowns. I think he shut everyone up. He silenced everyone with this performance. This was an absolute statement from Sanders. I think as much as Colorado's a riser, Sanders rose even higher. Like, this
oh
guy's
yeah,
looking like he looked like a lottery pick quarterback. I mean, top 5 quarterback to be drafted. Like, I said that Riley Leonard was making all the right reads. Shadur was making all the right reads, and he was completing passes on top of it.
yeah. He never put the ball in harm's way. He made every decision. Perfect timing too. He never hold on to it for too long. He never got out, never got rid of it too quickly. It was just a beautiful performance.
A masterclass performance from Sanders, and that's why he was one of the top guys on our list. Next guy, Jordan Travis from Florida State, another guy who looked really good in this week 1 performance against tougher competition than most teams had to go up against. He was another guy who just was making very good reads, spreading the wealth. Travis was 23 for 31 with 4 passing touchdowns, 1 rushing touchdown, and then he had the 1 interception, which it was a terrible interception. He literally threw it right to the LSU defender. But outside of that 1 blemish, I couldn't really think of anything wrong in his game, especially the way he just stepped up in that second half.
I was gonna say it was a slow first half for him, not necessarily a bad one, but a slow one. But then second half he just blew up.
Yeah, another guy just made all the right decisions, and he's definitely poised to get some looks for that Heisman Trophy coming up, or coming at the end of the season.
Next guy on the list is a gimme. Obviously, Caleb Williams. He was there from the beginning. I don't think he's getting talked about a whole lot just because they played a really easy opponent. And obviously, a lot of people are kind of shocking a lot of audiences right now. So he's not what comes to the mind forefront. But go watch some highlights of this past week because he made some absolutely fucking insane throws. It was like there was one where he was like running for his damn life, and then he was like half of a step away from stepping out of bounds and drifted this ball beautifully right into the basket down the sideline. And I was like, how did he do that?
On a rope, dude. On a rope, this ball looked. I'm talking like right down the sideline, just perfectly straight, right into the dude's arms. I think Caleb Williams every week impresses me more and more and more. And like,
I don't know how he did that. That was.
He's one of the. He's like, I can say, I'm saying this now, he's one of the best college quarterbacks I've ever seen. Like,
yeah.
I know this is like he has not played the toughest competition. Okay, I understand that. But dude, just anytime he's out on the field, anything can happen. He can make any play, he can make any throw.
Could be 4th and 50. I'd be confident.
See that laser touchdown he threw in the end zone too? I don't know. The guy was literally just standing right there. I swear to God, Caleb Williams threw this ball at 100 miles per hour though. Like,
I wouldn't doubt it. He's got a sling of an arm.
It's Patrick Mahomes-esque. It's something that you don't see every day. Like, if you're an NFL team and you're not set on your quarterback and you lose every game this year, don't be sad. Good times are coming, okay? If you want to take off the year of 2023 of the NFL season, except if you're the Packers, please be mid.
Yep.
I want the Packers touching Caleb Williams. But
well, honestly, did you see Caleb Williams' comments about if he doesn't like the team that gets the first overall pick, he might take another year?
No chance. No chance.
He's making more than Joe Burrow right now.
What?
Yeah. He's making more in NIL than Joe Burrow is making on his rookie contract. So,
yeah, that could be huge if Caleb Williams came back for his senior year. But the last USC quarterback who did that, Matt Barkley, that didn't work out too well for him.
That's a good point. I think it'd be a nice fuck you to the Packers, though, if they got the first overall pick and Caleb Williams was like, nah, I'm good.
That's like a dream, honestly. I think I had that dream the other night. But whatever NFL team that gets Caleb Williams, like, you're going to be good for a long time. Like,
yeah, you're set.
He's going to be like I think he's going to be like the highest paid draft pick of all time. Like, his signing bonus is going to be nuts. Like, that's why I think there's no chance he stays in college for another year, especially risking injury. Definitely not.
Got to be someone like pretty bad with a first overall pick.
Yeah, you don't want a Hendon Hooker situation, you know. Before the draft, like, can't have that. Our next guy on the Heisman watch list is my boy, Sam Hartman. This guy has just been phenomenal for Notre Dame. I can't stress it enough. He looks so poised in the pocket. Like, I can't remember the last time Notre Dame had a quarterback who I was, one, this confident in, and two, looked this good. Like, again, we're playing nobodies. Navy, Tennessee State. Like, these are not great programs. But still, what more do you want to see out of him from these two performances? Like,
doing what he needed to do for the two performances. Like, it maybe against very awful teams, but you have to be extremely efficient and you have to show up when you're playing extremely bad teams, and that's what he did. So, very impressed.
I just think he's also a guy that's like kind of really bought into the Notre Dame culture, which is something that you love to see, especially getting a fifth-year transfer. Like you want everything to mesh well. You don't want to have like a Graham Mertz situation on your hands. Like Sam Hartman, like has just been phenomenal. And if he keeps up this pace, he keeps playing like he is. Notre Dame might run the ball too much for him to win a Heisman, but
He'll be in the conversation for sure if he stays like this.
like this is like there are so many Notre Dame teams that like probably would have won a national championship if they had a Sam Hartman-esque quarterback. Like it's going to be a fun year for the Irish, I think.
The Irish fans have just been waiting for this for years.
Yeah, I like we never been able to get like a stud quarterback. So if we got to go to the transfer portal to find Sam Hartman,
So be it.
I'll do that every year.
Yeah. Next guy on our list also had an insane game. Michael Penix Jr. showing out again. 450 yards, 5 touchdowns. What more do you want out of the guy?
Yep, played Boise State, who is a top-tier Group of 5 school and had really seemingly no problems whatsoever with them. They were down in the beginning a little bit, but once he turned it on, it was over. Like once Michael Penix got hot, there was no stopping him. If he could keep putting up performances like this, definitely Heisman watch. Agreed.
Oh, yeah. He keeps this out throughout the entire season, he'll be in New York.
True. And our last guy, who, Kevin and I have been very vocal on not being the biggest fans of him, but I mean, from what I saw week 1 is this guy's got some skills. He's got the tools. It's Jalen Milroe, Alabama's starting quarterback. I really have no kind of questions about that position for Bama anymore. The way I saw Jalen Milroe run the ball, it's something different. And I think if Alabama can kind of structure an offense around his legs, his ability to use his legs, they could really make something work here. Not the typical quarterback you'd see Alabama really running out there, but it's kind of fun, and I think it's good they're switching it up because he played an outstanding game. Again, dog shit team, but still balled out like 56-7. They beat Middle Tennessee State. Jalen Milroe went at 194 yards passing, 3 passing touchdowns, all while having about 48 yards rushing and 2 rushing touchdowns on top of that. Again, it's kind of tough to count the rushing yards college football for quarterbacks with how they take every sack into play. But
yeah, looked good. It'll be nice to see him play. He's going to go from 0 to 100 really quick.
Yep.
From Middle Tennessee State to Texas next week. So we're really going to see him kind of have to grow up really quickly. But it'll be fun to see because, as you said, it's very different for Alabama. And I know Nick Saban over the offseason was saying how they're going to get back to the more traditional Alabama, handing the ball off more, game managing. But if Milroe proves that his legs are going to be an asset to him, Saban, I think, is ready to make a pivot if that's what he thinks is best for this offense and puts him in the best position to win. So be interesting to see how that offense rolls and what their focal point is and how they're kind of who they're working around, all that stuff going forward.
Yeah. It's gonna be a great season. That's all week one told me. It was gonna be a great season. Definitely some surprises, some things you don't expect to happen. But then again, in college football, that's always gonna happen. It's always gonna happen where these random teams are gonna get upset and shit. So yeah,
The chaos is always going to live on. Chaos is always undefeated.
chaos of college football. There's really nothing like it. So buckle in, folks. It's gonna get hectic this year. I can't remember the last time I've seen like this many good like quarterbacks in college football though.
Yeah, I think NIL and transfer portal is really helping out with that. You're starting to see a lot more older quarterbacks
that are getting a chance that normally they might not receive with like a school probably going with a younger, higher ranked prospect than them.
Yeah.
But the Jordan Travises, the Hendon Hookers, these quarterbacks who are transferring to schools where they're getting their opportunity and then balling out. It's truly good to see. It's good to see for the game. I think the game is definitely going in a positive direction.
Oh yeah, I think college football is kind of better than it's ever been before. It's really heading in a direction where it's going to be essentially like the fifth power, they're going to be like the Power 5 sports in North America between the NFL, NBA, MLB, NHL, and then college football really being the fifth.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, just good times coming ahead. I can't stress it enough to you guys. Like, you're in this.
Well, stay tuned because we will have a week 2 preview coming out beforehand. We got some good week 2 games. We'll talk about it on the podcast, so I won't get into it, but stay tuned later this week, week 2 preview.
Yeah. I expect this episode to be dropped tomorrow before 4 p.m. I'm going to try to get it out by. And then expect the week 2 picks to be uploaded by Thursday or Friday. Improve from week 1 on to week 2 now. Season's getting the swing of things. And yeah, it's exciting times. It was a great weekend. I mean, football from Thursday to Monday, college football from Thursday to Monday. There's truly just, you can't beat it. It was awesome. Good, some great games too, just all around. Didn't seem like there was really any like dead periods. Maybe that like I was a little bored watching Notre Dame a little bit. I guess at that time, but outside of that, nothing but positive things to say about this week.
No. Thank you for listening as always, though. Comment, like, subscribe, tell your friends, tell them to comment, like, subscribe, all that wonderful stuff. Yeah, give us your feedback. We'd love to hear it. Thank you guys.
And follow us on Twitter at Pylon to Pylon Pod. Yeah. That's all we got for you, folks.
How we going?
Peace and love.